Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, of course, Scott Haskin, here to bring you another song as we dig into the album Different World. It's been a fantastic journey doing all these songs, and every time we start a new album, it just, even if it's the same lineup as the previous album, each album has a really unique personality. There's maybe some stylistic changes, some changes because of what was going on in the music world, just a different feeling. You learn so much on a tour that when you come back to do the next album, you're really not the same band, even if you're the same people, because you've had a whole year or so of experiences all over the world. You learn different things. You learn things on stage. You learn things while you're traveling, all kinds of stuff that can affect how the new album is going to sound. And I really like the way that this album is shaping up. So today we are going to talk about the song, Which Way Will the Wind Blow? And we wonder. But first, happy Monday, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're in a great zone to set up a fantastic week ahead. We got 4 shows this week like we do every week. Lots of stuff, lots of heap coming at you. But first, we got to thank people, and our patrons are just some really wonderful and generous people that I am so grateful for. And I want to tell you about them. At the $5 easy living tier, that's $5 a month, which is really cool. That would be Kenny Wymore and Brad D. Then at the $3 The Wizard tier, also every month, that is Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Teelgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And then at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, they are like the answers sealed in the game of Clue envelope. You're not getting through their airtight gravesite. Thank you guys all so much for your generous donations. And also, we have a couple people that just do random donations to the show here and there. Thank you guys all so much. Thanks everyone who listens to the show. That's you, who shares the show, who lets other people know about it, that think that they're already a fan maybe of Uriah Heep, or somebody who says, you know what, there's this band that you ought to check out the Deep Dive podcast. And of course, speaking of deep dives, I cannot go any further without talking about my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. Over at Deep Purple Podcast, we have Nate and John. At the Skinnerd Reconsidered Podcast, we have The Simple Man. At T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side, we have Terry T-Bone Mathley. At Sabbath Bloody Podcast, we have Rye. At the In the Lap of the Pods Podcast, we have Paul, Joe, and David. And then at Hawk Binge, we have Andy and Matt. At the Maiden A to Z Pod, we have Eric and Jonathan. At the Diary of the Madmen, the Ultimate Aussie Podcast, we have Daniel and Josh. At Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Podcast, we have Ben and Sam. And then at the Metal Gods Podcast, which is a Judas Priest podcast, we have George and Tom, all of our deep dive and ever-growing network of podcasts. It's really cool out there. And of course, I can't forget my buddy Brandon over at Metallicast, and Allegra at gottahearemall.com, which is a website where she talks about the histories of bands like Deep Purple and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Just put up a new post on her thoughts on the new Deep Purple album, which is a cover album, a very interesting thing from them. I've heard a lot of thoughts on it one way or another, but as far as I'm concerned, you know what? These guys, all of them, man, they've earned the right to do whatever they want. And it's up to the listener to decide if they want to check it out or not. I was a little disappointed when I heard it was a cover album, because I thought, these guys are writing at the top of their game. They're doing some of the best stuff the band has ever done, in my opinion, some stuff that I find the most enjoyable. And to, put out something that doesn't follow that energy, I thought, wow, that's, I'm sure it's going to be good, but I really wanted something fresh. But then they're doing some sort of documentary, and there was a trailer for it, and there Bob Ezrin had said, very interestingly, and this made me feel a lot better, Not that I have a right to complain because they've given us so much, but Bob had said this was an interim album, something to do during the lockdown. And I thought that was pretty ingenious. I'm sure it was very challenging for those guys because it looks like they were recording remote, which was something that they said they couldn't do before. So they've opened up to that. So I'll be curious to hear it when it comes out. I believe the release date is sometime in November. There's a single out, which I am not going to listen to this time. I had to with Whoosh because I had done a masterclass with Steve Morse, and I knew that there was going to be some talk about the singles that had been released. So those I went ahead and listened to ahead of time. But I want to hear the proper album when it's released. That's what I really like. It's going to be hard for me if Uriah Heep does that too, if they release any singles ahead of the album, because I really find that when you listen to the full album in context, if there's one song that you know really well because it was pre-released, it kind of feels weird when you get to that song. You're like, oh, I've heard that a bunch of times. I want to skip it. But then you lose the continuity of the album. So for me, I really like to not hear the singles ahead of time, though the temptations are there. No doubt about it. So we'll see how I do this time. I had done pretty well with Whoosh until I had found out about the masterclass and signed up for it. And at that point, I'm like, well, I don't think I have a choice. And I was right because we talked about some of the singles that had been released, and he played a little bit from those. So it turned out that I had made the right decision, but I don't have a masterclass scheduled, so we'll see how that goes. So check out Gotta Hear 'Em All. That's my long way of saying check out hear'emall.com, gottahear'emall.com. Also, Ace on Music is a fantastic show done by the band's manager, Ace, and a couple of his friends talking about all kinds of things in the music business. And check that out. Links are in the show notes. He's on Stitcher and YouTube. And there are just great things coming from all these wonderful and talented people that are putting great content into the world. A lot of people are using podcasts to help entertain them during all this craziness and whatever level of lockdown your city or country is in at the moment. Seems like it's different all over the place, which, kind of makes sense. But check them out. There's a lot of great stuff out there. And also, there are a couple of other people who contribute very importantly to this show. My graphic artist, Scott Lazinski, who did such a fantastic job with the logos. My friends over at Audionamics, such an amazing company that their products are so unique and very, very helpful. I use their Instant Dialogue Cleaner, or IDC, on this podcast to help keep it sounding clean, despite the fact that I live right next to an international airport runway. The genius I was when I picked this place. Actually, it's not that bad because you probably don't hear it. And we'll see how that continues as it starts to get busier here in Vegas. Also, Dave White, the director of social media for Uriah Heep, he shares the show. He handles the website. He handles the Twitter and Facebook accounts. Just a paragon of information and a hell of a nice guy. Can't wait to have him back on the show to talk about some more of these songs he's been on before, and enjoy it every time. Just a great guy. So thank you, Dave, for all that you do for the band and for this podcast. And he also handles the website mick-box.net. So there you have it. Now, with all that being said, as it is, let's talk about this song, Which Way Will the Wind Blow? Well, let's hear it first. Wow. Just wow. What a cool intro for a song. First of all, that is a killer riff. Really has a great groove to it. Good sound. I could be wrong, but I think there is a touch of flange on that. Not a heavy amount, but I think there is just a touch. And then you couple that with a really cool groove and drum beat. He's hitting extra hats on one end of it, and then he's hitting an extra kick on the other half of it. So there's something going on either side of the beat, and it grooves so well with the guitar. And either one of those would work separately with a simpler part being played by the other, but it sounds really good together, and I'm digging it right off the bat. Well, Well, this is interesting. The verse is really kind of, I just picture like these guys standing on a street corner playing and telling a story. It just has some sort of connection like that for me. And then when we get to, I don't know if this is going to be the chorus or if it's a pre-chorus that we'll repeat, but it's interesting to have really the backups do it and there be no main vocal line, but a filler come in from Bernie. I kind of like that structure. I like that it's a little bit different than what we're used to. And I like that the backing vocals aren't trying to do anything too intricate just yet. They're singing pretty straightforward, a lower register than what we're used to hearing. And it's different. It's unique. Listening to the drums on this, I have to wonder if there wasn't some subconscious inspiration from Aerosmith to do the song Ragdoll. It has that drum feel to it, doesn't it? Just the extra use on the hats and the extra kick in there really just kind of gives it that swingy feel. And that's definitely what it reminds me of. But this came out first, so I think maybe it happened. I'm just going to say it's possible and leave it at that, because you really never know. I think, too, a lot of people are inspired by things and they don't realize that they're actually ripping off somebody else or coming close to what somebody else did, because two reasons. One, there's only so many rhythms, so many melodies, so many notes, and there has to be some duplication at some point. The other thing, too, is that I think you can hear a song and, years later that pops into your head, but you're not relating it to what the song is. You're just like, hey, I just came up with this drum beat. And you don't realize, oh, well, it was this Uriah Heep song I heard 10 years ago or something. There's always that possibility. And I have to think that we're actually influenced these days by more than we realize. Obviously, there are some people that are just blatantly ripping other people off. I don't think that's the case. But I do find a striking similarity in the beat and the sound of it, too. Not just the beat, but the actual sound of it seems very similar to Ragdoll to me. And both are great songs. So, that's just how it goes. There's only so many combinations of things. And I remember listening to an interview with John Lord where he said, I feel sorry for people these days. And this would have been back when like Perfect Strangers came out in around 84. And he was saying he felt sorry for people because it's all been done. Well, here we are. It's 2021. Oh my God, I feel old. But how much more has been done since then? I think even if you are coming close to something that somebody else did, it's not just about what you're creating. It's about the way you do it, the way you present it. You're putting your own unique taste on things, or, different sounds, different textures. If you're blatantly ripping off a riff, that's one thing, or a drum beat, that's another thing. But, it's going to happen. And so I hope, after all this long-winded speech, I hope somewhere in there that I'm right, that somebody in Aerosmith heard this and said, hey, this is kind of cool. We should do something like this. Maybe not. Could be completely unrelated. I don't know. But I'm going to go with that. So let's hear what happens next. That was cool. I really like the harmonies there. It sounds great. It sounds really full, too, this song. Nice drum roll to lead us into the next part. Love the extra pitch that went up there on the organ. That sounded good. Can't hear too well what the bass is doing just yet, but hopefully maybe when we hit the solo or something, it'll become a little bit clearer. Yeah, this is really interesting. I like the way that they're doing things a little bit differently here. Normally you guys know how much I love Bernie's voice, but it's kind of nice to hear a little bit of a change, and do something different with the structure of a song. And I like the way everyone's just kind of blended together, singing in unison. And like earlier, we were getting a little bit of fill in from Bernie, and this one was pretty straightforward. But I think it sounds good. It's a nice change of pace. And you know me, I'm always up for a surprise in a song. Oh, I just realized something. I think I know another reason why this kind of reminded me of Ragdoll. I was thinking earlier on, too, during the verses, that it's almost kind of a cross between talking and singing. I mean, there's parts that are just delivered in the story that are more speaking than they are singing. And then there's other parts that are more singing than speaking. So it's a nice combination. And you know who does that? Steven Tyler. He does that in some of the songs. So that kind of, I think, also played into that. I'm just realizing it consciously now, but I'm sure it was there before. But the sound that we're hearing from the band is so good right now. I love the blend of the vocals. I love the instruments. This is a great mix. Could use just a touch more bass, maybe, and just a touch more lead vocal. But apart from that, this is a great sounding song. I love these transitions in this song. They really feel like they're slowing the song down, but they're not. And they're very creative. I love the particular notes that they're picking too, because they're really unexpected. And it really is making for an interesting song. It's almost like if you have a piece of candy and you didn't know that there were little tiny pieces of peppermint in it. And every once in a while you get to a little piece of peppermint and it just gives you a different flavor. And you're like, wow, that was really nice. That's how I feel about this song. It's just little bursts of ideas that you don't expect, that are done differently than you would in structure of a song, and really just some nice surprises. I'm just loving the way the vocals sound on this song. We've heard that blend before, but there's just something that really stands out about this. Maybe it's because there's no lead vocal over the top of this part. So it's just this one vocal joined track that shines, but it really just sounds magnificent. And that is probably the most down and dirty, gritty solo I've ever heard from Mick. And it fits this song so well. And on top of that, the background rhythm was fantastic. And it really, it just keeps the song moving. But it's interesting. It flows. It's just got a great vibe to it. And the beat is backing everything up really well. Not hearing a ton of keyboards. I'm guessing that they're probably a little further back in the mix, but definitely This is one of those songs where I think we feel them more than we hear them up front. We're getting them in spots. Usually during the transition, I can hear them pretty well, but the guitars are pretty much covering the verses and the choruses with a little bit coming in audibly from the keyboards. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that they're really filling up that width of the song, which is so important. But this is a solid song, and what a great solo to take us through. Yeah, it's really cool that Bernie's come back in to sort of add some commentary in this. I like that. He sounds so powerful and gritty on this too. Really a nice effect for a song like this. And I can hear a little bit more of what the bass is doing now. I'm hearing eighth notes during this section, but there was a nice run in the transition there going into this chorus. Really powerful song. Fading out with a nice fill there by Lee Kerslake. You know, I had a feeling that this was going to be a repeat chorus until fade style song, but then I thought, you know what though, this is Uriah Heep. You never know. They could repeat the chorus 3 times and then just come back with a crazy ending that comes out of nowhere and you're like, wait, what just happened? But that didn't happen. It faded out very nicely. Great ending to the song. Really grooves. I love this song. I think it's got so much energy to it. It's got a great sound. There's just a feeling of, even though you're getting a great performance, it's like a feeling of just relaxed togetherness. Like they're like, you know what, we got this. Just kick back and listen. We're going to play a great song for you. And it feels really effortless to me. It may not have been. This may have been a difficult song for them to do. I have no idea. But it just feels very effortless for some reason to me. It's very cohesive. Everyone's together. And I just keep picturing that standing on the street corner, you know, doing the song kind of thing. And maybe that's why I get that relaxed performance feel. It doesn't sound relaxed. I mean, it's a very energetic song, a lot of stuff going on, but it just feels like it was done calmly for some reason. You know, you guys know how I am. I get these impressions in my head and I share them with you, and maybe you think they're crazy and maybe you don't. I don't know. But those are the impressions I get. And who knows what the hell that's based on. But yeah, great show. Great way to start off our week as we are on this journey of this new album. I hope that you guys have a fantastic day. Monday, you know, it decides the rest of the week. It can set the tone for everything. So I think we're off to a good start. Whatever time you're listening, day and night, could be Friday that you're listening. I don't know. But whenever you are, make it a great day. We'll see you tomorrow on Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcast or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!